What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Jared Barnes Show. I am your host, Jared Barnes. I have a brand new mic today. I'm very excited to get this thing broken in. Today, it's just going to be me and Nate. It's going to be a fun episode. We have a lot to talk about today. Championship game recap, not repack. Recap, can't talk. Brand new mic, can't talk. Head coaches got hired. Offensive coordinators got hired. LeBron is crying on the floor. An NFL stadium got a new playing surface. And we got a new segment debuting today. At the end of the episode, we will have a new segment called Rank 3, where we take a category. Doesn't have to necessarily be sports related, just something hot topic, controversial, something. Today we are ranking 3, our top 3 fast food burgers at the end of this episode. Stay tuned for that. Until then, though, let's start off with the big news of yesterday. Sean Payton getting hired to the Denver Broncos. Earlier this week, on Sunday, it was being talked about like Sean Payton might not end up with a job here. Sean Payton might see his way out and not find himself a job in the 2023 head coaching cycle. Turned out to be a massive smokescreen. Adam Schefter breaks the news. He is hired to be the new head coach of the Denver Broncos and take over for Russell Wilson. Is that enough to turn the Broncos around? Nate, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I mean, Russ was just so bad this season. Sean Payton is a genius. I think he's a good offensive mind. He brought the Saints almost to Super Bowl if they got that PI call. They'd be in the Super Bowl. So yes, I do think that he can fix some of it, but I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they probably can be with Russell Wilson at the helm of that offense. I think they'll still be good, but I think Russell Wilson is just kind of there's a lot of fixing that needs to happen before.
It'll be I'll be intrigued to see if Sean Payton can fix Russell Wilson. So the thing with that is, for the trade, they had to trade to get Sean Payton. This isn't like a normal head coaching hire. They had to trade to get Sean Payton. And to do that, they had to trade a first-round pick and next year's second-round pick when they've already traded a boatload to land Russell Wilson. So with that being said, have they given up too much? Wow, the editing here is crazy. Have they given up too much for a quarterback and a head coach? Or at this point, since they've given up so much for the quarterback, you have to sacrifice to make this quarterback good because he's on your team for a very, very long time.
Oh, you have to sacrifice at this point. I think it's the same thing. Same thing you're seeing with the Los Angeles. Like, I think at this point, hey, you're not going to be as dominant as we expected you both to be, but we need to work with what we got. Like, they have Russell Westbrook now, and like they want it to be a dominant team, and they sucked. It's actually Russell Wilson, Russell Westbrook are kind of in similar boats. So like you have to play with what you got. So yeah, I think it's just them trying to go all in. I don't realistically see them being Super Bowl contenders or nothing like that, but you just have to give yourself the best chance to be somewhat successful with what the hole you're already in.
Agreed.
When he leaves, like you have Sean Payton, hopefully still at the helm with the new quarterback.
Yep.
And so that's why you make this deal. Is when Russell Wilson is gone, how many years? 2, 3? 4 years on contract?
Russell Wilson's got a long time. The out in Russell Wilson's contract isn't really for 4 years down the road, and they're paying him a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
For like the next 4 to 5. So like, hopefully Sean Payton can figure out a way to turn him around. Sean Payton, a lot of people selling this is a good selling point for Sean Payton to Denver. He's really good with short quarterbacks, undersized quarterbacks. He can really make them excel. I think Breeze was good in his heyday, and then towards the end there, he had a noodle arm, and it was a real issue. And when he had a noodle arm, Sean Payton was still able to figure some stuff out. But even though he had an arm that couldn't throw the ball further downfield than, really many people in the league.
It was Roethlisberger.
I mean, Roethlisberger could sling it. Let's not.
Near the end of his career,
he could sling it. He just, the offense did not give him the opportunity.
He would be a great quarterback for this new 49ers offense. 5-yard check down, he would have been perfect late in his career.
You put Ben in that offense, they probably win by 21. in that NFC Championship game on Sunday. Ben would have destroyed that Eagles defense. And I mean, that's just coming from a Steeler fan. Let's keep this in mind. But,
I think we both hate the Eagles. I
hate the Eagles,
yeah,
but man, I don't like Kansas City.
It's not that I don't like Kansas City. I just don't like Jackson
and Brittany.
I don't
Brittany firing back though at Eli Apple, Cancun on 3, tweeting that like, oh, good internet, good internet. Hate Brittany, good internet, good on her. Stephon Diggs and was like, hey, that's why I stay off the internet. Don't talk no trash. Like, good for Stephon Diggs for being like the good dude here, but like,
that's bad.
But that's that's the team in their division that they have to dethrone, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Broncos are literally trying to build to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. They've built this defense up. Sean Payton's going to have a great defense. And it was rumored that Sean Payton was building a supreme coaching staff. Vic Fangio was rumored to be his supposed defensive coordinator that he was trying to, bring along with him. Vic Fangio's already been in Denver. Vic Fangio supposedly accepted a job in Miami.
Oh.
Reportedly, Vic Fangio has stated that is not the case. I wonder, that was coming out, I think, yesterday and today, that Fangio was not like saying, hey, I haven't agreed to this yet, just so we're clear. Wonder if that's partly because he knew Payton was going to get that Denver job, and he's going to go with Sean Payton to Denver, where he's already been a head coach. Vic Fangio already coached in Denver. Some of the same guys. Fangio, good defensively, maybe not as a head coach, but with that experience would be a great crew. I think it's going to be a while before the Broncos figure it out because they've screwed themselves draft capital-wise. But they have talent on that team. Javonte Williams, when he comes back healthy. They have a couple decent O-linemen. Jerry Jeudy, like you said. Cortland Sutton. And then you look at the defensive side of the football. Patrick Surtain, Randy Gregory, the safety who's Justin Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they have some dogs on that defensive side of the football. And I'm forgetting half the people's names on that defense right now. It's just not clicking in my head because the Broncos were bad and they weren't on national TV. So I didn't really watch the Broncos this year, except when I wanted to kind of make fun of Russ. So I watched Russ highlights, which there was not many. And it was more or less
probably the most watched Russ highlight of the whole season.
Yeah, I was going to say, I watched a lot of Russ lowlights this year. I'm a Russell Wilson hater, so I would love to see. I mean, I never say I'd like to see an athlete fail, but for whatever reason, all the commercials he's done, everything has made me just go, nah, Russ, I'm good. I don't need to see any of you anymore. That being said, though, I don't know really what to think of this hire. I think it's a great hire. I think they didn't have to give up as much as people thought they would have to give up. We'll see later on down the road whether this was a good hire. Getting a coach at the level of Sean Payton, always great. You still have Russell Wilson, so I wonder if they'll get that figured out. But I assume the system that will be put in place will help succeed. And I think I already know who you might bring in as offensive coordinator. He's been fired already, so he's jobless right now. His name's Joe Lombardi.
Oh, yeah.
He's the former Chargers offensive coordinator, also former offensive coordinator for the quarterback coach for the New Orleans Saints. So with that being said, that'll probably be who he hires to help boost his offensive staff, which is only good for Sean Payton because that's more people he's familiar with, more people he trusts, more people that could help Russell Wilson out. So,
and I mean, next year, they're gonna have a pretty hard division. The Chargers are still decent. The Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady will be the new quarterback for the Raiders. I mean, it's going to be a hard division to play in next year. So we'll have to wait and see what it looks like.
We don't know that yet, but it does seem like a lot of people think Brady will go to the Raiders.
I think he's going somewhere. I don't think he's. My guess is Las Vegas, if anything.
I'm leaning towards. I think the Jets are going to go all in on a quarterback. I don't know what Bill and Tom's relationship is like right now. But man, I think Tom would love to go right back into that division and wipe the floor with his old coach just to make everybody realize and say out loud who is better.
Yeah.
And end that argument. I don't know if Tom thinks like that, but Tom does have that like Kobe Mamba mentality where it's like, I would like to kill everything that's in front of me to win this game. Like, that would be like a very like
it'd be great to see. And he's like, I built the Chiefs up because they sucked last year. Like, I am the reason why we're beating you. It's not anybody else. Like, I am the reason we're beating you. Like that would just be such a great storyline.
And there's another reason why his ex-wife, not Giselle, his before that. I don't know if they were married. He has a child to this woman. It's his oldest son who's going to be playing high school ball. Lives in New York City.
Oh,
it's an interesting little connection.
Is this the Sunny Kisses or is this a different
I
son?
believe it is that son.
Okay,
I believe it is that son. So they have a deep connection.
absolutely.
That they care about each other. You know how important that son is to him. We've seen it on camera how important that son is to him. So I do think that he could end up in the New York Jets. If not, I think he goes home and plays in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Because that would make sense too. They need a quarterback, although it is the death wish to go play quarterback in San Francisco. If you just look at how that has gone for every quarterback that's played there in the last 4 years. I mean, including backups like Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins had the same injury that Brock Purdy just got. Like first one to have it like surgically repaired that's not Tommy John was Nick Mullins.
He got robbed
in 2020
championship game.
They got robbed, but then again, oh well.
Yeah.
Another head coach that just got hired yesterday was DeMeco Ryans at Houston. I think this is a much better hire than the Sean Payton hire because I like their situation maybe a little bit more. They have $37 million in cap space. They have a bare bones roster. They don't really have a lot of offensive talent. They don't really have a whole lot of defensive talent.
Second overall pick.
They are getting, in my opinion, the best head coach that was on the market. He's a defensive genius in that division. I think if you have a good defense, you can win the entire division in the AFC South. I think if you land a good quarterback in this draft, whether that be Bryce Young, whether that be CJ Stroud, or whether that be Will Levis, depending on how you feel. Again, I don't think this is a Will Levis show. Don't think we're big fans of Will Levis.
No.
Then again, I wonder how much Will Levis regression comes from maybe him losing an offensive coordinator that came back this offseason. But I will have to watch the tape to figure that out. So until then, I'm not a fan of Will Levis, but until I watch the tape and report
back.
I'm
not going to bag him.
Yeah.
As hard as we probably should.
Right I am going to watch the tape for all my top 7 quarterbacks. I'm going to sit down and watch some film and report back at some point during this NFL offseason just so that I can, give a very valid take and inform you guys of what I saw because I know how to watch film and I know what I'm looking for when watching film. So I can sit down and watch it, break it down and see what I think. But I think it's a great hire. I think I watched the clip from Greenlight Pod. That's a sports podcast that I'm a big fan of. It was a young defensive tackle. He's saying when he was in Philly, DeMeco Ryans was his one of his a position coach on the defense, and he was yelling to him out on the field, hey, a double team is coming your way. Do this move, get past it. DeMeco Ryans, he heard him yell it from the sidelines. He did exactly what DeMeco told him, exactly what DeMeco said happened on that play. And he says DeMeco does that every single play.
Hey.
And it's the knowledge and wherewithal you have as a coach to be able to do that. You start doing that for your players, they trust you 100% because they know you're literally preparing.
Yeah.
And I think finding the balance as a head coach when you can't watch probably as much film because you got a lot of other crap to worry about. I think when he finds that balance, Houston's got a guy. Hopefully they're more patient with him than they have been with other guys in the past because this is their 5th head coach since they fired Bill O'Brien in 2020.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on DeMeco Ryans or?
I think it's a great hire. I think, it's a great roster to work with. And I think just having a coach with that kind of mind, a coach with kind of a winning pedigree, I would say. I mean, more so than the Texans have been recently. So I think it's just a great hire just as somebody to start off your new franchise with, just because, you're getting a new quarterback. You don't have a whole lot of offensive weapons. So you're definitely starting a new leaf. Your old stars are gone. Hopkins is gone. Watt's gone. Watt's gone completely. He retired. But so this is just a new era of Texans football, and I think he's a great person to be at the helm of that.
a lot of people wondering if J.J. Watt maybe returns as a coach for DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans drafted to the Texans. His wife is from Houston. He was a defensive rookie of the year he was drafted. 2-time Pro Bowler for the Houston Texans. Like, it's another reason why I think it's a good hire because the fans love DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah.
Like, and you need fans to love your head coach because they've been bad. They've been very bad for a few years. So to get a guy like this could spark what the franchise needs to happen. That being said, let's dive into the championship game recaps. We are not going to talk about whether we believe the NFL is rigged or not today because we're going to do a little deep dive into some things. We're going to dig deep. We're going to really come back of the offseason with I think we're going to come back with a pretty legit, like,
we're gonna go deep. Like trying to look old games
I'll tell you,
storylines.
yeah, we're going to look at old storylines, old games to see what was going on. I 100%, I don't think that's going to change my mind. I don't think the NFL is rigged. Don't know where Nate stands on that, but I personally don't think you can rig the NFL and don't think if they're rigging the NFL, don't think the person writing their storylines is doing a very good job. But with that being said, talk about the storylines that happened this weekend. 49ers played the Eagles. Eagles dominated. The final score was 31-7. And the Eagles rushing attack on full display. 4 rushing touchdowns in this game. 7 total rushing touchdowns in the playoff. This is a team that ran for 32 touchdowns in the regular season. That's 39 on the year. That is an NFL record for a regular season rushing touchdowns, including playoffs.
Isn't the 49ers the second best rush defense too in this playoff?
Oh yeah.
Second to the Eagles or
I think they were the best rush defense there was in the whole playoffs. They were the best defense that was left in the playoffs. The Chiefs defense not as good as the 49ers, and let's be honest, luck was not on the 49ers side. The Eagles came prepared greatly. I mean, one of the NFL's leading sackers in Hassan Reddick had 2 sacks in like the first half, a forced fumble and a fumble recovery.
Jeez.
All in the first half. He was eating in the first half. And the Eagles were never in danger, partly due to the defensive play, and also partly due to the fact that, Brock Purdy blows his elbow out. Josh Johnson gets concussed. They literally cannot throw the football. But on the first drive, you knew what kind of day it was going to be in the NFL based on the Devontae Smith catch.
Yeah.
Watching it, I thought it was a catch at first. Like, straight up, thought it was a catch at first. And seeing him get up as fast as he got up and then him just doing the fist pumping himself, I got a little skeptical that he even caught it. Watching it live, I was like, I don't think he caught that. On the phone with my dad, I said, wow, what a catch as he was catching it, and then saw him jump up, and I'm like, oh, they're getting a line quick here. I don't think he caught that. And then I was like, oh, they know the play they're going to call at least. So they plan on like going to the line quick. And then when they get to the line, like it's a free for all. And it's like, oh, he did not catch that football. And this was the hand signal they run. They run the over the head fist bump to let you know. And I think I've seen it previously in the year. And I can't remember what game, or else I'd go back and pick the clip up and post this as a clip. But I cannot remember. I swear I've seen it early in the year while watching an Eagles game. It might have been A.J. Brown. Something similar like this happened. He did very similar thing. They rushed to the line. The next play was a trash play, but the play then couldn't be reviewed. Then you come back and you're like, oh, he didn't catch that football at all. And they scored a touchdown 2 plays later on that drive. You wonder if the game would have been different. I don't think it would have been. I think Eagles were winning this game regardless. But at the same time, it's like, well, if they don't score a touchdown there, like, you can't predict injuries, but like,
yeah,
is the 49ers drive play calling in the first drive maybe a little different because the Eagles didn't score a touchdown? And does Brock Purdy blow out his elbow on the first drive? Who knows? It's tough to say. Then later in the game, you see another interesting call. And I think the refs really screwed this one up. I think this one should have been a definite redo, just based on body language of everybody on the field at the time. You see the punt from Brett Kern that people supposedly think hit the wire. There's 2 people on the field that are definitely going to be watching the ball that aren't the punter. that is, and they're not technically on the field, they're on the sideline. The special teams coach, because they want to see how Brett Kern hits this thing, and they want to watch the ball in the air to see how it's spinning, to see maybe how he can hit it better the next time he goes and punts the football.
Yeah.
So they're watching the ball the whole time. And then Jake Elliott's also watching the ball because he's a kicker, because he wants to do the same thing, because he wants to help his teammate out. He wants to help his punter hit a better ball. They're watching the ball. They obviously see it change. It was a tight spiral coming off his foot, and it didn't change in the air. You could see it in the clip. It was a tight spiral, and then it just isn't. And then it just starts shanking left when it was a perfect down the middle punt. It was a perfect punt. I think he probably would have booted it, to be honest with you. It hits the wire. They say it didn't hit, though. They couldn't have no evidence. Should have redoed it. Like, that punt should have been a redo. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think that was a big enough call. It's special teams, so nobody cares. But like in my mind, like that's a game changer if it's a close game. Like, let's say that happens in the Bengals and Chiefs game. You're the Chiefs and you're the Bengals punting to Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's a problem, because Patrick Mahomes can score in one play if he wants to, depending on who he's throwing to and who's on the field at that time. They can score in one play. And we all thought that when Tyreek was there, and Tyreek left, and it's still the same. They can score in one play.
He's good.
In an instant. And then you want to talk about the 49ers, like, issues. I mean, quarterback health-wise all year was an issue. Trey Lance, week 3, Jimmy G. Then you get to this game, Brock Purdy's been completely healthy, not a scratch on him. Tears his UCL. Like, that's a 6-month injury, and he had to come back in and play because they didn't have another quarterback body on the team because Josh Johnson got concussed. Then you talk about the other injuries that happened. Fred Warner got hurt on the first defensive possession on the first play. I think it was a stinger or his arm, a bone came out of socket and they had to pop it back in place. And then Nick Bosa on the second drive, as he's standing on the sidelines, gets hit by a gunner coming out of bounds, and he sprains his ankle. Obviously, a very mild sprain, but it kind of prohibited him the rest of the day. He wasn't the same from that point. And then, Purdy's injury, Josh Johnson getting concussed, they couldn't run the football. Like, there's a chance when they relook at Purdy's arm, he might have to get Tommy John surgery on his elbow, which would put him out for 12 months, which then leads you to who is their quarterback next season. And that's why I think it's Tom Brady.
I don't know if Tom Brady would go there with the history of that injury. I think they're going to push for him for sure. I mean, another quarterback who is from that area, Aaron,
Exactly. There's 2 quarterbacks that are great quarterbacks.
2 quarterbacks that have a relationship with the 49ers. But if I'm a quarterback and I'm looking at the history of injury at San Francisco, do they use grass? Right? It's legit grass?
They do use grass, I do believe.
Because if
I don't know that.
Because if it was turf, that would just make sense. I would probably blame it on the turf, but I think it's grass that they do at Levi Stadium. So I'm not sure what the problem is.
Just a tease here for later in the show, I will talk about a team that did change their surface playing field. It will be shocking. No, it was not New York. It was a different team. They switched from grass to turf. Very interesting. We'll see how it plays out. But back to the conversation. That is later in the episode. We'll look forward to that. Let's move on to the Bengals and Chiefs. This Bengals-Chiefs one, I could go on for days. I'm not going to because, listen, we've all heard it. We're all kind of, at this point, sick of it. I'm not blaming the refs for the Bengals loss in this game. The Bengals played terribly. The Bengals, if you wanted to win that game, you had opportunities to do so. It's not like the Chiefs put this game out of reach and the refs screwed you. This game was in reach for a while. You had your chance. Block for Joe Burrow. Stop Chris Jones. He never lines up on the outside. Chris Jones, on one of the final possessions, lined up on the outside and got his last sack on Joe Burrow. It's like he never lines up out there. He had terrible form. He didn't really know what he was doing rushing from the edge. You could tell it looked odd, him rushing from the edge. He was didn't look like an athlete. He looked lost and confused, but he's just so naturally gifted. When you put him versus an average tackle, he's going to dominate that tackle. And that's what he did. And, many were hoping this game was going to be better. Really wasn't. It was very actually frustrating to watch, partly because Chris Jones like we just mentioned, just dominated the Bengals could not do much because Chris Jones was disrupting the game that much. He had 8 quarterback hits or something like that. 5, maybe it was like 5 or 8, something like that. He had a lot of quarterback hits.
Yeah, that's something you need to address in the offseason.
I mean,
the past 2 seasons.
They what's worse is they addressed that, and then like all their guys happened to get hurt the second they got to the playoffs. So now everybody there's a lot of fake Bengals fans on Twitter. I was exposing them. They thought that this was the O-line all year. I was like, nah. This was not the O-line all year. You're obviously not a real Bengals fan. You haven't watched the Bengals game all year if you think this is the line all year. I don't think La'el Collins was on the field, was he? He might have been. Maybe. I'm not sure. There's a couple guys hurt, though. Alex Kappa was hurt. A couple guys on the Bengals were hurt.
La'el Collins, though, is a good pickup for them, especially from last season. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just been a reoccurring thing for the Bengals. Yeah. It's just protection of Joe Burrow.
And then the refs again, the 3rd and 9 debacle. And
yeah.
Just speaking of the 3rd and 9 debacle, like that, when you think about that debacle, that was not that ref. The time was wrong. Supposedly, this is what the NFL is saying. The time was wrong. A ref tried to stop it. He was the back judge, though. That's not his job. That's the line judge's job to stop that because of the clock. And then, for whatever reason, you weren't able to stop the play. Blow your whistle, bud. You have a whistle. Blow your whistle. Like, throw a flag. Do something. Like, if he throws his flag, like, I'm not saying, like, you should not use your flag to stop play. But if he throws his flag, the refs are going to be like, oh, what's going on? The back judge is throwing before the ball is snapped because he's running forward. When you watch it on the 22 film, you can see the ref is running for the back judge because he knows the clock isn't right. Don't know why he didn't do any of that, but that was a terrible just a look for the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final play of the game before the field goal. Not the final play, but the play we all
ceiling.
Joseph Asai or bad play. To speak about that, I pulled a clip from the Pat McAfee show today where Gene Steratore talked about it. And we'll hear his thoughts because he is the GOAT of referees from the NFL, in my opinion. So let's hear what Gene has to say.
Players decide whether or not this is. Swallow the whistle is what you hear a lot of players say, let the players do the thing. But then at the end of the play here, Gene, of the play obviously becomes the late hit heard round, literally the world. He was clearly out of bounds. Have to call this, Gene?
Got to call it. Yeah, got to call it, Pat. This is 2 feet in the white. Look, Osai is hustling, right? You guys know how quick this occurs. But, at this point, this isn't one of those tiptoes. A tiptoe, and right before his foot hits the white, he gets blown up. 1, 2, boom, I'm finishing you. It has to be called. That's just a foul. That's a foul the first play of the game. It's a foul the last play of the game. That's where that play has to live.
As much as I hate that call, and as much as I hate that call literally kind of did affect. My bad, I kept myself on mute. As much as I hate that call, and as much as I hate the way that call affected the game, he's right. He's right. It's a foul, the first play and last play of the game. And he talked about later in that same interview the fact that, he would not call that if the quarterback was still fighting for the yardage, though. Mahomes was obviously, you look at that clip, you see Mahomes was giving himself up.
Yeah.
Mahomes was not trying to gain more yards. Mahomes was giving himself up and going out of bounds. Osai should have pulled up. He's hustling now. He's a big dude. Dude.
It's hard to stop yourself.
You're moving quick. He's probably moving somewhere in north of 15, maybe 17 miles an hour on that play.
Big dude.
200 something pounds. Something. Yeah, I'd probably say he's 265. I don't know. We could look up his weight, but we're not going to. we could look that up. There's no way that's correct because they took that weight at the beginning of the year. It's been a long season. I'm sure he put on some pounds. Everybody does. It's tough. It is tough. The winners
barbecue.
Winter is tough. Winter is tough. Cincinnati is cold. Skyline chili probably got him. Hopefully not.
Yeah,
because Skyline chili is disgusting.
He would have lost weight if he ate some Skyline chili.
Yeah, be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. He would definitely have lost weight eating that spaghetti chili cheese. Just, Skyline chili is disgusting. That's a great idea for our rank 3, and I will write that down. Worst fast food restaurants. around the country.
Or fast food items. Just
Yes.
Skyline Chili is just the generic #1 for all of us.
That's literally the name for the restaurant. It's literally Skyline Chili. It's not.
That's a name. It's not.
That's the name. That's the name. Yeah.
That sucks.
That's
That's your namesake. And
I've never
what you
seen.
come up with.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've been in Ohio, never seen it outside of Ohio. Like, and I'm from southwestern Pennsylvania. Never seen that place out of Ohio. And you Ohio folk that eat that on a regular, y'all are psycho. But y'all are built different, and we know that already. Y'all from Ohio. So, like, we're aware. We know.
Yes.
Y'all are built different. We got it. But back to the game. That play has to be called. But he talked about guys that are forcing for the yardage. Like he said, rushing quarterbacks. Like if Lamar forces for that yardage, he's not throwing that flag. If Mike Vick fights for that yardage, he's not throwing that flag. If Cam Newton fights for that, he's not throwing that flag. You know.
Because you have to stop.
If a quarter, yeah.
Like that's probably the thought process.
Yeah. You have to hit him. So you can't protect the person. Like let's say like Rodgers or Brady was like running the sideline fighting for extra yards. Not that they would, but like I don't know if they get that call. If they're going out of bounds and giving themselves up, yes. But like if they're fighting for extra yards and lowering their shoulder, like Josh Allen lowers his shoulder there and tries to hit the dude, that's a no call. But in that situation, he is definitely out of bounds. By the time Osai hits him, he's at least a step or two out of bounds. I think it's a good call. A lot of people are really upset about that call, though.
It's hard for a pill like that to swallow, but it is the right call. Like it sucks that that's the way that your season ends, but it's the rules. Like if Joe Burrow got hit like that, like you guys would be up in arms too if that didn't get called.
Exactly.
So it sucks, but you know, I mean, as a Cowboys fan, it was a catch. We probably would have lost.
Exactly.
Had 2 minutes left, but you know, it was a catch. And like it sucks that our season had to end like that, but I mean that's another situation. That was the wrong call, but it just always sucks when your season ends on a play call.
As a Steeler fan, the Jesse James end zone touchdown, similar situation. That's in the regular season. Kind of screws us out of playoff seeding though. That year, Steelers were really good. Would have gotten home field advantage over the Patriots. We were the number 2 seed, I do believe. Yes, we were literally the number 2 seed. That was the 2017. Same year we lost to
2017, yeah.
Same year we lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. Same year. And the last time this team
made it
was in the Super Bowl. And they beat Tom Brady and won with Nick Foles as quarterback.
That was such a hard Super Bowl to like watch because I hated Tom Brady at that time, but I also hated the Eagles. I was very conflicted.
Hated the Eagles. At that point, I was the biggest Eagles fan on the planet because like I was so mad the Steelers lost. And I knew that if the Steelers played the Patriots, we would have beaten the Patriots. Because the Jaguars almost beat the Patriots. And hindsight's 50-50. Steelers should have beaten the Jaguars that year. Wasted so much talent on that roster. Makes me upset thinking about it and frustrated thinking about it. This was like the most boring playoff for me, in my opinion. Like the whole playoffs to this point.
Outside of the first week.
The first week was fantastic. The rest, pretty lackluster and subpar. But other NFL news, there's been some other head coaches that have been hired or just play callers or just coordinators. Let's go around the NFL and Frank Reich. We missed it last week. It came a day or two after us. I think a solid hire. He has a reputation of being a, good offensive mind, a good offensive coordinator, a coach that can develop quarterbacks. This is a team that needs a quarterback to be developed.
Oh, yeah.
They're obviously going to go for one, draft one, or trade for one. They have Derek Carr on the board, Jimmy G on the board, rookie on the board.
Where are they at in the draft?
I am not 100% sure where they're at. If you want to look that up, I think that the guy they should draft, a lot of people are craving for Anthony Richardson. Listen, if you're an NFL team, draft Hendon Hooker. People forgot that he existed. Hendon Hooker, Tennessee. Heisman frontrunner before he got hurt. Beat Alabama. Is a dog. Better than Will Levis in my mind as of right now. Hendon Hooker is that dude. I'm not even a Tennessee fan.
Number 9 pick.
They have not Hendon Hooker at 9. Carolina, draft him now.
Yeah, I mean, because like ahead of you, you have the Falcons. I don't know exactly where they're going, but they probably could
might go quarterback. There's a lot of teams ahead of them that might go quarterback.
There's Vegas. I mean, but I think Richardson is probably higher on people's draft boards than Hooker, and so like Hooker is probably the best player. He might be number 3, or even number 2.
Breaking news here: Hendon Hooker is my number 3 over Will Levis as of right now, and we said we weren't going to bash Levis. I'm not bashing Levis. Just my natural rankings before I do any film study.
Sorry. My bad.
Got a little bit of an ad going there. Not us, though. No free ads on this show, Nate. Come on now.
No, sir. I'm bad. Yeah, no, I mean, but the thing is, though, is we've seen Hendon Hooker play.
Like that dog.
Like, because like he's been on a national stage and he proved, like, hey, I'm the real deal. Like, Will Levis, he hasn't played in his bowl game. He hasn't played in the Senior Bowl.
I'm not going to knock him for not going to the Senior Bowl.
I'm just saying, like,
the NFL, this is not being talked about by a lot of people. I think in the next couple of years, the narrative on the Senior Bowl is really about to shift.
Yeah.
So the NFL, like Bill Belichick's going to be at the East-West Shrine game. I think the Patriots are like coaching staff at the East-West Shrine game. East-West Shrine game, not as known as the Senior Bowl.
That's smart.
The East-West Shrine game is in Vegas the same time as the Pro Bowl.
Is he playing Will Levis in that or no?
No. He didn't get invited. Technically the East-West Shrine game is the baby brother to the Senior Bowl. Like Senior Bowl, much bigger in a lot of people's eyes than East-West Shrine game. I think you can really get a lot of guys, play them on 2 separate weeks. Let the Senior Bowl be the Senior Bowl. Let the East-West Shrine game be the bowl game where you let all the underclassmen that aren't seniors play.
Yeah.
If you were an underclassman, boom, and you declared before your eligibility ran out, you're in the East-West Shrine game. If you graduated and you're a senior, you're in the Senior Bowl. That's the easy solve. Make them both a big deal. I think it's better for football that way. But
yeah. I mean, like the thing that I was saying with Levis, like it's not the Senior Bowl is not really a big deal. I'm just saying we haven't seen you prove yourself.
Exactly. No, exactly.
You're right. Like the Senior Bowl is a place where you can prove yourself.
And you played in the SEC, and your team was not that good. So
I mean, they started 5-0, but then after that, it's like, oh, we're playing the SEC now.
They were 7-5.
Yeah,
7-5, 7-6, but 7-5 with Will Levis because he didn't play in the bowl game. So not good.
No.
So hopefully Frank Reich can do that. Crazy thing about Frank Reich is like he was the first new head coach hired. They didn't do a second interview with Frank. They wanted Frank immediately. Frank was their first ever starting quarterback for that franchise.
That's crazy.
Week 1 starter in 1995 when that franchise became a thing. He was their week 1 starter. At the same time, they had Doug Peterson as a practice squad player. And then after that, Kerry Collins was their first-round draft pick in the actual draft, who, if you know Kerry Collins, he was in the league for a very, very, very long time. Like, I think very close to 20 years.
Dang.
Like, he was in the league. Solid career out of Kerry Collins. He became the starter for the majority of the rest of the season. But Frank Reich, first ever starting quarterback for Carolina Panthers, new head coach for them. Hopefully he can turn it around. Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator got fired, Kellen Moore. The next day, within 24 hours, he was hired by the Chargers to be their offensive coordinator. Nate, you have a lot of experience in dealing with Kellen Moore. How do you feel about that hire?
First, I just want to say God answers prayers. So, we are very, very happy as Cowboys fans that he is gone. Because Jerry Jones has a tendency where he has stupid loyalty with guys. Jason Garrett, we saw him. He was there longer than he should have been. So I'm just very glad that Jerry said, hey, you kind of sucked. So we're just going to move on from you. But the Chargers moving is just a weird move. Because he showed that he didn't really have a whole lot of success with Dak. I mean, this is an offense that you have a multitude of weapons, and you weren't all that great as an offense. I mean, you got better as Dak got there, but you turned the ball over a lot. And there were some definite holes. I think you didn't really know what to do with the running back situation.
Yep.
That's a big thing.
And that's concerning to me for the Chargers because they have Austin Eckler. The reason I was a big Austin Eckler guy specifically for fantasy football, Joe Lombardi was with the Saints while Alvin Kamara was at his, the best we've ever seen Alvin Kamara. He was a great receiver out of the backfield, great rusher, but they used him a lot as a dump-off guy. So when Joe Lombardi 2 years ago went to the Chargers, I immediately was like, in my mind, connected, okay, make sure you draft Austin Eckler because they're obviously going to dump it off to him a lot. I was correct. I've won my fantasy championship 2 years in a row, not to brag. So, I do believe my thought process was a good idea because I drafted Austin Eckler in the first round, but also because I realized, hey, they're going to use Austin Eckler in this way. I don't know how that affects my fantasy thinking here, but, are they going to use Austin Eckler like they use Zeke and try to run him up the gut because Austin Eckler can't do that? Or are they going to use him like Tony Pollard and like an offensive weapon? I'll be intrigued to see how they use him.
Yeah, and that's just the thing is I don't really know if he knows what he's doing because I think a lot of his offense was predicated on tight end success.
Exactly.
That was probably what he used the most, and I don't really know who's the tight end.
Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett is his name. He's been around.
Yeah.
Seattle for a little bit. Seattle for a year. The Rams for a while, 4 years. Seattle for 1, and I think now 1 here with the Chargers.
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
He's not. He's probably on the same level, or maybe better than Dalton Schultz.
I'm saying, outside the Cowboys fans, you probably wouldn't know our tight ends either. So I don't know if that's gonna be as much of a problem because I don't know that guy because I'm not a part of it. But he used all 3 of our guys.
Yeah.
And so, but that means Keenan Allen's gonna be utilized less.
They have a guy that's 6'9" at tight end, Donald Parham Jr. Don't know why they don't use him more often.
6'9"?
Yeah, Donald Parham.
I think he might get used a little more.
I would hope.
But Keenan Allen, I expect to see him take a step back in production. I look for that. Austin Eckler, I don't know if you see him take a step back in production, but I think you might see him sharing more reps with somebody that they might draft or somebody that might bring in. I think Kellen Moore is going to say, hey, I need another running back.
That'll piss me off.
So
I'm not even a Chargers fan. That'll piss me off.
It's going to be a very interesting thing to see. I don't know how it affects Justin Herbert because he has an arm. And so I would love for Kellen Moore to utilize, hey, this guy can throw downfield. Let's get some wideouts and let's use them.
They have wideouts. They do have those. They have abundance of those.
That's not Kellen Moore's offense. And so that's just the one thing you're just going to have to look out for. So I expect it to be a lot more tight end work. I expect the running back room to be shared a lot more because he failed to utilize Zeke when it was just Zeke. And so, I don't think that was a great hire. I really don't know what he was doing. Wasn't Kellen Moore interviewed for the job before Frank Reich got it?
Kellen Moore was the last person to interview for the Panthers job right before they hired Frank Reich, which is kind of telling that he was their last interview. So they were they interviewed Kellen Moore and was like, all right, I think we're good. We don't need that guy. Let's go Frank Reich.
So, but I mean, that's all you really got to know.
Yeah.
But I'm just very happy he's not in my organization anymore. I'm excited to see who they're going to fill that spot with, but I'm just very glad he's gone.
Yeah. And 2 other offensive coordinators were hired. Nathaniel Hackett was hired to be the Jets offensive coordinator. A lot of people thinking that means they're going to get Rodgers. I don't know. And Matt LaFleur's little brother, Mike LaFleur,
I was going to ask,
has returned to the Rams. And he is now going to be the offensive coordinator for the Rams. He replaces Liam Cohn, who was there for 1 year after deciding to return to Kentucky. Liam Cohn, offensive coordinator for Will Levis in 2021. Leaves, goes to the Rams, offensive coordinator. Is part of the reason Baker was as successful in his first week because he was helping Baker install that game plan. Not to say that Liam Cohn is good at his job, but I think Liam Cohn good at his job. But also Sean McVay, play caller. So what are you really as an offense coordinator there? He said he missed recruiting a lot, so he goes back to Kentucky. That's one of the reasons why I'm intrigued to look at the Will Levis tape and see if that affected Will Levis or not. But I think those were 2 good hires by those 2 teams. And then to the stadium talk that I mentioned earlier, the Tennessee Titans have announced that they are switching the kind of playing surface they're using at Nissan Stadium. They used grass in the past, but they've had a real issue with lower body injuries. The NFL said that they've had the most lower body injuries at Nissan Stadium more than any stadium in the league. and that's a grass field. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Players have talked about it, though, where it's a real slick and a real issue later in the year. So this will be the first NFL stadium to adopt a new synthetic turf that uses a monofilament called matrix helix turf, which uses an organic infill that retains more moisture than just regular turf synthetic fields that use like the rubber pellets.
Yeah.
And like I said, Titans have had some real issues. Like the Titans organization itself has had real issues with keeping players healthy over the last few years. And I wonder if part of it's due to the fact that they're playing on Nissan Stadium's terrible grass every single week. And that brings back the argument of grass or turf better. We'll get to see a pretty decent argument because we're going to hear from players on that field. It's going to suck that Taylor Lewan, like I'll be intrigued to hear Taylor Lewan's thoughts because Taylor Lewan has played on that field. Taylor Lewan, big in the media industry, Taylor Lewan got some real opinions, but that's where I've heard from, like, because they interviewed Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's talked about just how sometimes it feels like they just painted the field green to make it look green for TV, where it's like the grass was that bad there. So like it'll be, I think it'll look better for them. I wonder if it'll help the guys feel better with their joints. We'll know because Derrick Henry.
I hope so. I want to see a full season.
I'd like to see a full season out of Derrick Henry and him be fully healthy. With that being said, that's all I had for the NFL. If Nate, you want to take it away for some basketball stuff real quick?
Yeah, I just got just a little bit of basketball stuff to talk about. First off, I want to start with remember a couple weeks ago, I think maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, John Morant's getting interviewed, and he's at the interview is asking, who do you feel as if you look at that team and say, I have to run through them? And he said the Celtics. And he's like, nobody in the West. Nah, I'm fine in the West. Well, against his last 5 Western Conference opponents, he is 0-5. And that includes a loss to the G League Suns, loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and all started with the loss to the Los Angeles Lakers after the Shannon Sharpe incident where he took on the entire team and messed with their heads. So, I mean, yeah, there's certain things where I think Memphis is a good team, but they might have a similar story to the Suns. As a Suns fan, I look at them and I say, you guys are great in the regular season. You have John Morant, he's good. You have Jaren Jackson Jr., he's good. But who do you go to if John Morant's getting doubled? Dylan Brooks has proven that he doesn't really close games out like that. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's also proven that he can't close out games like that. And if you watch anything about Memphis basketball, they run the same exact play. John Morant gets a layup. That is how they end games. And he's pretty good at it because he makes a lot of those shots. But like you're gonna go against a good coach and he's gonna figure that out and say, hey, let's just put two guys in the paint. We'll stop it. Because so like they have one play that's very one-dimensional when it comes to late situations. So in the playoffs it doesn't work. So I'm excited to see exactly what's gonna happen in Memphis, but do not be surprised if they don't win it all. Because I don't feel like they're a great team. I don't know if they have the capacity to win all just yet. I think they need something else. Desmond Bane has been good, but he has proven that he's not a closer. A lot of great players on that team. They've just proven that nobody else is a closer besides John Morant.
Yeah. No, and that's another situation of where you cannot get too cocky. Like you get too cocky, you're going to get put in your place. And it sounds like Jaw has been put in his place just a little bit.
Well, like we did. Luka special.
Exactly.
Everything. We got punched in the mouth. And I think this season, Devin Booker's hurt. Mikal Bridges has taken a step up. Chris Paul is kind of defying time a little bit. And you're seeing other players start to step up because everybody's injured. And so this is like the Pistons, I guess. The Mavericks like the Pistons that woke us up and said, hey, we need to get better. We need to get stronger in order to overcome this hump.
Yep.
And so the Phoenix Suns, I expect them to get a little bit better. But Memphis Grizzlies, I watch out for them. I think something might happen. Because I don't expect them to make a move at the trade deadline. Because I feel like they think they're good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this team is good enough to win it all just yet.
Got it.
So that's the thing with Memphis. So, yeah. They're a great team. And, I see a lot of great things. Jaren Jackson Jr., Defensive Player of the Year, especially when he plays in Memphis. Stat padding. Have you heard about that at all?
Yes, I have.
He's a great defensive player. I think he should definitely be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. There is some discrepancy with his stats, but
I feel like that's every single player in the league, though, at some point. Like, there's always a discrepancy with somebody's stats because of the fact that, there goes my phone.
Yeah. And going back to the NFL is rigged. The NBA, we know it's rigged.
Yeah. Tim Donaghy, dude.
There was a whole scandal and everything. So, we already know that.
Some of those refs that were in that, not involved in that scandal, but Tim Donaghy has openly mentioned are still in the league. So,
yeah.
Just to let that be clear.
So, but yeah, I mean, he's still a great player. They're a great team. But just don't be surprised if it all comes crashing down. The first trade of the NBA trade season has already happened. The Los Angeles Lakers have traded Kendrick Nunn and draft compensation. I think a second, and then they traded seconds. Or swapped seconds for Rui Hachimura. If you don't remember, he was a player from Gonzaga, lottery pick from Japan. Really cool guy, 3-and-D wing. He's not the answer. I went a little bit more in depth into my box set episode. Episode 10 was pretty cool.
Yeah, I will put the link in the episode down here below. So if you are intrigued by what Nate's thoughts are about basketball, but obviously I don't give him enough time on here. I apologize about that. But
it's still football season. Football is king, man.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about basketball when it's my basketball season.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I hate to be that guy.
It's true though. I mean, everybody watches that.
I haven't been watching any basketball. I've heard about the Jaren Jackson stat padding thing. Don't know enough about it to even give an opinion. So
yeah,
it's a real problem.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't watch all the NFL games just because basketball.
Exactly.
I mean, so football is not as much my sport, so that's why I let Jared talk for most of it. But yeah, Rui Hachimura, great player, great 3-and-D wing. He's going to be a great piece for their bench. This might be the last move the Lakers make. Bold prediction, but Miles Turner got signed to an extension, so that means the deal that's been on the table this whole time, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, is off the table. And the Lakers have been very hesitant to trade those 2 first-round picks, so this might be the last move the Lakers make. This does not make them a championship contender. This makes them a playoff contender, though. So now I do expect the Lakers to be in the playoffs with this other piece, but they won't be championship contenders.
No, I don't. I think, hot take, don't watch enough basketball to actually give an opinion here, but I think LeBron's past his prime. I think he's good. Don't think he's going to be contending for championships at this point anymore as the one on a team, in my opinion. But
I mean, to be fair, LeBron has been excellent.
He's been excellent, but can he still be the one on a team and carry it to a championship?
In my mind, he should get some love for the MVP. He should get some love.
He should get that every year, though.
He definitely should. It's voters fatigue, which Jokic is still up there. He might be one of the first back-to-back MVPs.
Well, that's all the white writers.
Yeah.
Hate to make it a race thing, but
Larry Bird was the last one.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you want to go down that route, but having said that, the NBA also introduced this new thing. It's called NBA Rivals Week. This is a totally new thing, and so what they do is they schedule a whole slew of games, all nationally televised, where it's rivalries, whether it's historic rivalries, which it all ended with LA versus Boston. I'll get into a little bit of that.
I mean,
but it all started with Boston and Miami, who have had playoff battles for the longest time. There was battle for LA, of course, battle for New York, of course. Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia.
Beautiful.
That was a great game. Ben Simmons showed out a little bit. He definitely made his mark in that game. He did lose, but Philadelphia is the champion contender. I mean, so is Brooklyn, but I think Philadelphia is slightly a better team. Memphis, Golden State, Phoenix, Dallas, that's a new one. But it all ended with Lakers, Celtics. We all saw it. LeBron gets fouled on the layup, has an absolute temper tantrum. So that was, I mean, he was fouled. He didn't need to cry like that. Patrick Beverley pulled a camera from the stands and said, "Hey, he's getting fouled right here."
That was awesome. That was awesome.
not a huge fan of Patrick Beverley, but that was
awesome. That was one of my favorite things of the entire situation. Seeing LeBron on the floor crying like a baby for, a full minute straight. He laid on the ground. I understand you got fouled, but like,
it's over.
You crying like that's not going to help your case. It's actually just going to make me dislike you even more, and other people dislike you even more. Like, they're not going to reverse the call. Obviously, it's a rivalry week, so you got to wonder. I did not know that was the part of it as well. That adds more to my narrative that whole thing was a fix, and they were like, "Oh, this team's going to meet again at some point."
Yeah,
right. They play again later in the season, right?
I
don't know that for sure.
It might
have
already played, but that would be a great storyline.
Oh yeah, what a storyline that would be. Crazy how that works out.
Yeah.
If they do play, I assume they probably don't, but feel like they might. They only played twice because East to West, but
yeah. Let me see. Yeah, March.
Probably not. They probably don't. It's probably my brain thinking it would be too good of a storyline.
It would be a great storyline, but it doesn't look.
I did not think. That's a shame.
That's sad because that would have been a great game to watch again.
Oh yeah.
But that I really love the institution of that. It's like a nice little mid-season tournament. Like they tried that, and it was just it just worked so well. And so it was a very good thing that they did. Final thing I want to mention is the NBA starters have been announced. So the captain of the East and West, LeBron and Giannis, respectively, are both the captains East and West. For the East, you have Giannis, Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, KD. In my mind, I probably would have put Embiid over KD.
Interesting. I've heard a lot of people say the opposite.
Tatum's been playing good, and it's very, very hard for me to take him out of that. But out of Embiid, KD, and Tatum, I think KD's probably the worst. Which that's crazy to say.
That is crazy, but
he's probably the worst out of those three. It's voting.
Yeah.
So KD's a great player, and he deserves to be a starter.
At least their All-Star game matters.
Yeah. Well,
at least they have guys that throw more than 2 touchdowns in there.
Yeah. Well, at least they kind of touch them at least a little bit.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl that's happening this year, Tyler Huntley is in the Pro Bowl now. He had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
That's crazy.
Derek Carr in a Pro Bowl. Trevor Lawrence in a Pro Bowl because they're like the 12th alternates all the way down. So Tyler Huntley and Derek Carr.
Pro Bowl don't matter. Which sucks.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Well, an all-star selection in the NBA does matter. Like, that's like saying you were an all-star.
Then again, when you look at the Hall of Fame for both, you talk about how maybe messed up that voting is. People take Pro Bowls into account when they look at an NFL player's Hall of Fame resume. People will take into account an all-star starter on your resume for the Hall of Fame, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb because you're injured or something. You still count as an all-star, but you don't show out at all.
Yeah.
But so that's the East. But for the West, pretty standard. LeBron, Zion. That's a surprising one to me, but I can't figure out a whole bunch of names that I would put there instead. So LeBron, Zion, Jokic, Curry, and Luka. So Luka definitely, Curry definitely. I'm surprised they didn't put Ja Morant over Curry, but Curry's been playing out of his mind, and Jokic is obviously an MVP candidate.
Got to put Curry because he's Curry.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Name draw in itself, good.
So with Morant though. So
it's tough. Morant's good, but it's tough to if you're gonna put him over LeBron. LeBron's LeBron, the name.
Yeah.
Zion is that. Zion Williamson, the greatest highlights you'll ever watch. Jokic,
Austin Rivers.
Back-to-back MVPs.
Back-to-back.
Curry.
Luka.
And then Luka. He's that dude. It's tough to put Ja in there.
Yeah, it's hard. And same thing with Embiid too. You had 3 guys that deserve that spot.
Exactly.
But there's only 2 spots.
Exactly.
So I understand why they made the decision. But yeah, those are your all-star starters. And I had nothing else to talk about, so we're gonna do rank 3.
Yeah.
And then get out of here.
Yeah. I'll let you hit your rank 3 first. So what we're gonna do in this is every week we're gonna pick something. So if you can hit us with that, I'll go first then.
Yeah, go first. I gotta consult my sources.
Okay, I'll go first. So what we're gonna do every week is we're gonna take a topic. So this week it is fast food burgers. We're going to rank our top 3 fast food burgers, and give maybe an honorable mention if we have one. I do have an honorable mention. You don't have to have one if you can't think of one, but I have my honorable mention, and we're gonna start with the honorable mention, work our way up to the top. So my honorable mention is Whataburger. I think a double cheeseburger or just a straight cheeseburger from there, very good, extremely good, better than most places.
Honorable mention, I don't know about that one.
See, this is where my bias comes in, though, because at 3, I have McDonald's. I'm a McDonald's guy through and through. It's in my blood.
Yeah.
Like, literally, going to probably clog an artery one day because I eat too much McDonald's. Big McDonald's guy, so that's my number 3.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no.
Then at 2, I have In-N-Out.
Okay.
I've had it very little in my life, but when I did have it, the burger was fantastic. Fries, I'll probably never order them again unless I get animal-style fries, which, bro, I did not know about In-N-Out at all when I went there. I didn't know that their secret menu was a thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know how to order. I had no idea what I was doing. I just got a double cheeseburger and fries.
Suck.
And the fries were literally like eating cardboard. So they're less to be desired, but like the burger itself was so good. But that's my number 2. My number 1 is a place you go to. It's a special occasion. It's a trip. You only go there every once in a while because it's so expensive. It's kind of fast casual. You get a thing of peanuts with it too. Like, it's real good. You get a buttload of fries because they always give way too many fries. And
$35, but
yeah, you're gonna spend $45 when you go there. If you go there on a date, it's $57. If you both get a burger and you both get fries and a drink, $57.
If I take a date there, I'm just gonna eat peanuts. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't spend that much money.
Can't afford it. Hey, you split that burger in half or what? What you trying to do, girl? Like,
yeah.
Five Guys is my number 1. I think it is the best burger in fast food. I love it. I would go there weekly, but I can't afford it, and I don't think my body would be able to take it.
No,
those burgers are extremely greasy, but man, are they good. But that is my rank 3. Your turn to go, Nate. Let's see what you got, because I think you're going to be a little different than me.
I'm going to go with honorable mention first. McDonald's is my honorable mention.
Fair.
It's nostalgia for me, but it's like, can I put it as a top 3 burger in my list? It's very hard for me to put it up.
I can't knock you for not putting it up there.
Because, like,
it's very hit or miss.
I'm a Nuggets guy. And so when it comes to McDonald's,
McDonald's got great nuggets.
I have the Big Mac every once in a while. I like it, but like, I'm
double quarter pounder with cheese though. Fantastic.
Going with the nuggets practically almost every time. Number 3, In-N-Out. Now, for those at the East Coast,
wow.
I mean, they have like a pleasure attack when they come. Like, I have seen people like eyes roll back in their head.
It is like that when first time I had it was like that.
It's an experience for the East Coast players, but for the West Coast, like, we have it all the time. It's a great burger. I mean, it's a top 3 burger on my list, but it's not like as amazing as people make it out to be. And this is probably where I get a little controversial. It's a big debate. Whataburger is my 2.
Fair. Whataburger is fantastic, so I can't disagree. But that being better than In-N-Out, wild to me.
I mean, well, because like, Whataburger's got different burgers. Like, that's the thing. It's like In-N-Out, it's double with cheese.
Fair.
It's a double. And then, like, it has the special sauce, but like at Whataburger, you have the sweet bacon burger. You have green chili burger. Like, as a Southwest thing, that burger is amazing. Breakfast burger for breakfast.
See, that's too much. Breakfast burger is too much.
So I mean, I like it,
but too much.
Number one's gonna probably shock you.
Yeah, because I don't know what your number 1 is. I couldn't tell you what your number 1 is.
So it's late at night.
Oh boy.
You're looking for a place to go.
Oh no.
Not a whole lot of places are open. You're like, do I really want to go into a place? Like, we're still partying. This is a place for late night conversations. It's not really a place to go for shakes. Probably more slushies.
Oh no, you're not doing this.
Sonic is my number one.
No, you can't. I can't. Oh no, I don't.
Garlic butter bacon burger is probably the best thing I have put in my mouth when it comes to fast food burgers. Sonic is my number one, and I am sticking with it.
This man's crazy. It's the Greg Oden Stephen A. clip I need right now. He was on crack. Like that's the kind of Sonic's a good
Those are the
burger.
people who eat those burgers, though.
That's fair. I mean, you just put it as your number one.
It's good. I mean, like you.
Dog. To be fair, it is good, but that's wild. That's wild to me.
I stand
that
by
being
it.
said, what a conclusion to rank 3. What a conclusion to this episode. We appreciate you all for tuning in and watching. We will see you next week. Peace.